There's one franchise that's so incredibly popular, packed full of content, and has become a titan IP that it's not just a gaming sensation, but a worldwide craze. No, not that game. I mean one that still has at least some respectability amongst the gaming community. That franchise is none other than Call of Duty. Now, Call of Duty is one of the strongest franchises last generation, with many well-received games such as Modern Warfare 1 and 2, as well as Black Ops 1 and 2, which have all become fan favorites. After all, their trailers alone were enticing enough to warrant a purchase. This generation, however, the franchise has still been fairly successful on the financial front. The consumer and fan reception has been, well, pretty depressing. We had the hated COD Ghost with its advanced fish AI.
We've really taken this opportunity to revamp fish. We've added fluid dynamics and also added an AI system to it. So we have fish move out of the way when you get close to them.
COD Advanced Warfare of Kevin Spacey, wonder what happened to that guy? Oh, that's right. Black Ops 3, which was okay, but man oh man does COD love their futuristic games. Then we had Infinite Warfare. That sure was a fun time for Infinity Ward.
Voy a la playa, había subido la marea.
Ah, never mind. Okay, well what about COD World War II? That had to be a blast in the past. Damn, they just can't catch a break. Okay, well Black Ops 4 had a Battle Royale mode. Everyone loves those. Ah, yep, forgot just how greedy Activision can be. Okay, well I think you guys get the point. Call of Duty hasn't exactly had that great of a reception this generation, so it was a last-ditch effort by Infinity Ward and Activision. They're now trying to make some last-minute amends with their massive fan base by reviving the most beloved series in the franchise, Modern Warfare. With a beautiful new graphics engine, a stellar dark and gritty story mode, boots on the ground multiplayer, the return of kill streaks, the largest variety of game modes yet, the removal of a season pass, and even the return of the fan-favorite co-op mode, Spec Ops. Looking over the list of this game's features, it really does feel like Infinity Ward is trying to make the best Call of Duty yet. Sadly though, Activision is doing a pretty good job at killing their own hype train, as making the Spec Ops survival mode a PS4 exclusive for an entire year certainly hasn't done them any favors in terms of pre-orders, or good word of mouth. However, at the end of the day, people wouldn't be so upset about those decisions if the game itself sucked or just wasn't fun to play. But no, we care about those awful decisions by Activision because the actual game that Infinity Ward has created is amazing. And even though I'm more of a Halo and Battlefield guy at heart, I have to admit that Modern Warfare, the actual game itself, is one of the best multiplayer games I've played, and easily one of the best Call of Duties this console generation. Now I still have some complaints with several aspects of the game, but with today's video, I want to talk more about the game itself separate from the corporate greed of Activision. So with that said, let's look into my first praise of the game, and that's the insane variety of game modes that Modern Warfare provides. Now it's no secret that the key ingredient to most of Call of Duty's success is the flexibility of its gameplay and wide variety of game modes. After all, Call of Duty has always been a game that any gamer with any FPS experience at all can pick up and have fun. They may not get the top of the scoreboard or have a positive KD, but they can at least have fun and get a couple of kills. I fall somewhere in the average range of this game in terms of my performance, which always amazes my friends, as usually with games like Apex Legends, Halo, Destiny, and Battlefield, I'm pretty good, and always close to the top of the scoreboard. But to be fair, those games all have higher time to kill and are usually slower paced, with established battle lines and spawns. I'm just not good at that headless chicken style gameplay, where you can be shot from any direction and spawn anywhere in the map. So for me, I try and avoid game modes like Team Deathmatch like the plague. However, with that said, this is where Modern Warfare has done a tremendous job. In the beta, the amount of game modes on display was just a fraction of what will be available in the full game, and what was there was already incredible. So during the beta, I played the 2v2 gunfight mode, the night vision game mode, the new search and destroy called Cyber Attack, the 20v20 headquarters and domination, and of course the Battlefield inspired ground war. Now starting off, the game mode that I probably played the most during the beta was the night vision one. Not only did I love how well Infinity Ward incorporated night vision, but this mode was incredibly tactical despite just being Team Deathmatch. The way that bright light would blind players while wearing the NV goggles, and how it's almost impossible to see anything in the dark without wearing them, made the game much slower paced. And just like in real life, with how the goggles obstruct your ability to aim down your sights, you have to use the laser sight to aim and take down enemies that are mid to long range. But whenever you aim, it's not only you that can see the laser, but your enemies as well. This also created another incredibly interesting dynamic. This made it so you had to aim sparingly and also intelligently.
Reloading!
The other game mode that I really enjoyed was Cyber Attack. While I might not have been the best at this mode, I really do love the idea of one-life objective-focused modes. And to make this version even better than the classic Search and Destroy is the ability to revive teammates. This is the feature that I not only love due to helping out tremendously with rage-inducing death grievances, but it also adds another level of complexity to the mode that I didn't even know it needed. As now once an enemy is dead, you need to constantly be aware of where the bodies are at and how many enemies are left, as the ability for anyone to be revived makes it to where the battle can shift in anyone's favor at any time. Now let's move into the game mode that was deemed the Battlefield killer leading up to the open beta.
Round 1. Capture objectives and kill your enemies.
Now Ground War is basically conquest from Battlefield with multiple control points, large 32-person teams, and of course vehicles. Now before I played this mode, this is the one I was most excited for, and figured it really could put Battlefield to shame, especially if the rough state Battlefield 5 is in. However, after playing it, I can't imagine I'll spend much time in it outside of a couple matches. As for me, this mode makes Battlefield 5 look like a masterpiece, as the vehicles are implemented incredibly poorly, being killed by kill streaks constantly is not much fun, and there's just no real level of teamwork or objective-focused gameplay. And with how fast you die in COD, combined with the outside being constantly bombarded by kill streaks, you'd mostly just find one building and stay in that location for the majority of the match. Now even though I'm criticizing this mode, doesn't mean I didn't have any fun. I still had some good times on playing it, and some of the battles like this one I had on the bridge really can be exhilarating.
Allied UAV overhead. UAV is ready for flyover. Precision airstrike ready on.
I think this mode would be great for COD fans, and I'm glad it exists, but it's far from being an alternative for Battlefield fans. Now Activision has claimed this mode could be as large as 50v50 in the full release, but I think they may need to make a couple of adjustments to Ground War before introducing another 36 players. Looking back at the beta and all the modes I played, there certainly was a lot of variety, and I didn't even mention how addicting the 2v2 gunfight was. And while some modes were hit or miss with me, that highlights the fact that Modern Warfare is basically providing enough options to try and appeal to literally any shooter fan, and for that I do have to commend them. Of course, these game modes wouldn't be fun to play if the gameplay itself wasn't a damn good experience. The gameplay here in Modern Warfare is still very much Call of Duty. Nothing too drastic has happened that caused it to deviate away from its winning formula. But through a plethora of small upgrades and additions, this may possibly be the best and most refined version of that gameplay yet. Now you can switch to fire mode of guns, reload while still aiming down your sights, and even mount your guns on surfaces or around corners, to either take a peek or to reduce your weapon's recoil, which is now much higher in this game. Although I have to admit, I may have used this to be a camper a couple of times.
UAV beginning flyover.
These small additions, along with the guns no longer being hit scan and instead having bullet travel, all help the game to feel much more realistic and grounded than ever before. Of course, some people may not like all these changes, but I think for the most part this is a nice evolution of the standard COD gameplay, instead of a revolution. Plus there's finally no wall running and double jumping, so for me personally, that alone is a great change to the gameplay. Along with the game playing better than many of the most recent Call of Duties, the guns now also look and sound better than ever before. This is an area that Infinity Ward has taken a huge leap in. Most games use artificially engineered sounds and visuals for ballistics to make it feel like you're firing a weapon. It's a carefully manicured illusion meant to trick you with an immersive experience. You overload the senses of just enough visual, auditory, and even tactile sensations that the player forgets it's a game. However, this all changes in Modern Warfare. Now all the weapons have had their sounds and physics recorded on Hollywood stages, so that every detail down to how the bullets fly and casings bounce can faithfully and accurately be reproduced in the game. This was key in making the transition from the previously mentioned hit scan to the overhauled bullet travel. With hit scan, the bullet encounters an object that scans as a possible target, then a group of factors translate into damage dealt. But now with this new physics engine, the caliber of a weapon dictates recoil, muzzle velocity, and bullet penetration. And every bullet now independently travels and acts as a projectile, with the actual mass and velocity built into the system, and determined by the real-life firing test of all weapons with all attachments. And to take full advantage of the realistic nature of the weapons, players are also able to modify their weapons in the gun bench, which in the beta was of course limited, but Infinity Ward has stated they want this feature to feel like tuning a car or building a custom PC. Of course, to unlock all those options, you have to progress each weapon, but thankfully, all progression across all game modes will be unified. That way you can play what you want to unlock each weapon's 30 to 60 attachments. However, this is obviously where some of the negatives begin. By now, chances are, if you're watching this video, then you already know about Activision being the usual scum that they are, with decisions made such as making this Spec Ops survival mode exclusive to PS4 for an entire year. By doing this, Activision managed to ruin the insane amount of hype and good word of mouth that Modern Warfare had going for it, which especially sucks for Infinity Ward, as they had done so much hard work to try and make this last Call of Duty for this console generation not only one to remember, but also one to restore faith in the IP's name. And for the most part, they succeeded in this goal. Now that doesn't mean the game is perfect, as I've stated, some modes like Ground War are still pretty rough around the edges, the graphics in multiplayer are still pretty ugly compared to the single player, the spawning can really be atrocious, and of course, while kill streaks may be a nice nostalgic addition for Modern Warfare 2 fans, I think score streaks may be a more appropriate alternative for objective-based game modes. That way players are more focused on playing the objective instead of sitting back and camping just so they can save up for a kill streak. But those issues aside, Modern Warfare itself is amazing, and I would recommend the game to any shooter fan in a heartbeat. After all, this really is the best Call of Duty in years, and if Activision can straighten up their act and just let Infinity Ward make the game they want to make, I have no doubt that this game would break all kinds of sales records. However, as it stands now, the controversy surrounding the game is still holding it back, and all we can do is wait and see if Modern Warfare is allowed to be as great as it can be, or if Activision just wants to use it as a platform to abuse consumers and nickel and dime them in any way possible. Well, that wraps up this video on why Modern Warfare is a great game hindered by bad business. So let me know what you think down in the comments, and if you agree or disagree with what I've said. As always, my Twitter account and Patreon are linked down below, and this video is made in part thanks to the generous support from Kruse. With that said, let's chat down in the comments, and if you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to leave a like, share the video, and hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you all on the next Shepherd Gaming video, Keyless Ally.